ready now, let's go.
Call the meeting to order, the chief is here. So, let's do it. You want to start with the roll call?
So, committee member Jones. Committee member Owens.
Owen is here.
Over there.
Or
Committee
don't
member
run of them.
Michelle.
Not the sport group.
Committee member Seabolt has an excused absence, and committee member Lugers.
Here.
Councilmember Lane.
Here.
Councilmember Whitmer. Lewis.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor DeGolia. and Mayor Hall.
Okay, so our first item is the proclamation for America's 250th anniversary.
We have a comment.
Oh, we have two public comments, sorry. Public
Yeah,
comments
we're
for
a little
items
rusty.
on the agenda. Who's not speaking first? Do we have any public comments? No? Anyone online?
No members of the public are present.
Okay, so now it's time for the proclamation. I'm just so excited to say semi-centennial multiple times. So do you want to, it says you're doing a report, but should I just go straight into reading it? Okay, great.
I didn't, do we have it?
We have
Yeah.
a very good
Yeah.
one. I'm
Yes.
gonna read it out loud. We're all gonna
Page 4.
love it. So
I love
in
it.
recognition of the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, whereas on July 4th, 2026 marks the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, 1776, and the founding of the United States of America, and whereas the nation's semi-quincentennial, recognized nationally as America 250, invites communities across the country to mark this milestone and to reflect on the principles that have guided the U.S. for 2.5 centuries. And whereas preserving, studying, celebrating, and appreciating our shared history helps strengthen communities as we work together towards the ideals of liberty and equality embedded in the Declaration of Independence. And whereas the 250th anniversary provides an opportunity to celebrate and recognize the significant contributions Athertonians have made to local, state, and national history. And whereas the principles of self-governance and civic participation that led to the nation's founding remain alive in an Atherton today through the engagement of its residents in the life of their community. And whereas the town of Atherton, incorporated in 1923, has contributed proudly and significantly to the history of the United States and the state of California for more than 100 years. And whereas the enduring character of Atherton as a residential community reflects the values of family, neighborliness, and stewardship that have shaped both the town and the nation across generations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, the mayor of town of Atherton, and the Atherton City Council do hereby proclaim that the town of Atherton commemorates the United States semi-quincentennial year of 2026 and call upon all of its residents to reflect upon the significance of the commemoration and the role our community and its diverse people have played in the history and the development of the United States.
Who has played a significant part in the United States? I thought that there'd be a list of all the people.
Just Bill Whitmer, just like listed a couple of them.
There's
Only one who.
That's who the whole 250th is now organized around.
Well, not this proclamation.
In
Not
fact,
this
he
one.
has his own organization,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
organizing it in Washington DC, which has nothing to
I
do
think
with
we're off
it.
topic at this point.
So,
We're in the court.
all right,
I
so
was gonna say, I
moving-
read all these
so
times,
moving
I
on.
just wanted to know.
moving on
Thank
to
you
our.
so much, Mayor, for reading that wonderful
Thank you.
proclamation.
I worked
And
really
I
hard
know
on
you
writing
wrote
that.
every word of it. It's so neat. Thank you.
It doesn't have enough whereas.
Do we have a
Whereas-
250 flag? Yeah.
Do we have to take a motion?
We don't have a 250 flag and we've got fireworks set up out there.
Oh, bull.
That's
I got a 250 flag at my house.
No, I don't. Okay. Item number 2.
Okay, item number 2 is the an election this year. George, do you want- or no, this is Anthony.
I just popped over here to make
Popped over
it easy
here.
on all of
Cool.
your necks. So thank you, Mayor and members of council. You have a staff report and the recommendation is for the council to call an election and consolidate with our upcoming local election with the county. We recommend that we adopt the 2 resolutions attached. There's one update within the resolution for the fiscal portion, which I'll mention shortly. The resolutions would be to formally initiate the framework for the November 3rd, 2026 general municipal election, authorize the city manager to contract with San Mateo County for execution of services. So in short, to just summarize the staff report, the election will address a total of 4 council seats for this November, 3 full 4-year terms that are expiring, currently being held by council members Bill Widmer, Councilmember Rick DeGolia, and Mayor Stacy Holland. Additionally, there is 1 short-term 2-year seat on the ballot, and that's currently being held by Councilmember Eric Lane, which followed a midterm appointment vacancy. So that seat won't expire until December 2028. The timeline from this point until candidate filing will move pretty quickly. So assuming the council adopt the resolutions tonight, the nomination window will open on Monday, July 13th, and it'll close on August 7th. So that's at 5 p.m. If we don't have an eligible incumbent that chooses to file, then there's an extension period, and that would happen independently for both the three full year 4 terms or the short term 2-year term. So meaning if we don't have somebody apply for either one of those, then we'll extend it for that period of time. Regarding that fiscal impact, I noted that the initial resolution mentioned a $12,000 budget. That was from our prior fiscal year. So it's $15,000 that we've appropriated already in this current fiscal budget. And we typically don't get that invoice until the January of the following year after the election. So we don't expect to get that until like January 2027. But we've already, secured the funding, and we're pretty sure that it'll fall in line with that.
My resolution says 50.
Does it? Okay, I
Yeah.
updated it online, and maybe Michael replaced
Yeah, I
it.
updated online, I didn't reprint
The
the
wor-
packets.
the
No,
words-
mine says 15,000.
The
Yeah, the
words-
word says 12.
The word
and then
says
after
12.
that-
Okay.
The
Word says
number
12.
says
Oh.
15.
Oh.
So it might
I
be
only
one
look
or
at
the other, I don't know.
No. It'll be 15, and you'll vote tonight. I'll make sure your
See what I'm saying?
recommendation will include the 15, and that'll be updated. But with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Anyone have questions?
But normally we also approved or decided candidate statements, how many words it would be and all that other stuff, and what the fee was gonna be associated with that.
We're going to align with what we've typically been doing. And I think it was included in the resolution that was listed. Candidate statements are typically limited at 250 words, and we have collected approximately $450. And if it's less, if the county charges you less, then we process a refund for any candidate that's
I think he
decided to
stated
submit.
200 last. 200.
Did we?
and- Yeah. I don't remember how much we had to pay him. He got it back.
Yeah. Ultimately, if we cancel the election, then you'll have that fee returned.
Okay, any other questions? Do you have any public comment?
I don't see
Right.
any online.
Anyone we have to make a motion and
Yes.
do the whole thing. Anyone make a motion?
I move that we approve the resolution to call the election coming up in November, and we also allocate $50,000 pay
And authorize George.
and authorize Ford to do whatever George chooses.
Perfect. Great. Perfect. Okay, is there a second? I'll second it. No takers, I'll second.
No one wants to.
No one wants to do it. This is so contentious, having an election. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the main event, which is part 2 of our active transportation plan. So, you guys have a new deck for us, or we're just gonna skip to the slide that we need?
Is this the sequel? Is that what you're saying?
This is a
part 2.
continuation, so Mayor, members of the committee, thank you. This is a continuation from our last month's meeting. Your staff report provides an update with regards to the feedback that we received at our last meeting, and we'll continue on with the remainder of the items of discussion. So we'll start off tonight's presentation with the summary of the recommendations that came out of the June 4 study session. Move into the items that we didn't cover last time, and that would be highlighting intersection recommendations, discussions of programs and policies, and updated frontage standards, going over next steps and looking forward to any feedback that you all might have as we try and finalize the draft document for public review and adoption. I'm going to say I will try and be as brief as those other items, but I don't think I'll make it. So just kind of highlighting the things from last month's study session. We have one class 1 shared use pathway recommendation, and that's along Marsh Road, pretty much top the channel. And then separated bike lanes. So this is the putting in a delineator device or some other separation. That only street that's recommended for is Middlefield, where we already have buffers. And then class 2B, which is the buffered bike lanes, are under design on Alameda de las Pulgas. And then we had some recommendations for class 2 regular bike lanes in the document, one of which was along Atherton Avenue, and based on the feedback from the council, that is being removed. And then the recommendation for the class 2 bike lanes on Glenwood was shifted to being class 3 shared use.
Which is what it is already.
Then class 3 bikeways, the addition of Stockbridge. Atherton Avenue again was removed from class 2 and recommended to be class 3, which is what it is now. In the Lindenwood neighborhood, we had a recommendation for a route along Green Oaks that was removed, with the exception of that piece from Frederick over to Oak Grove, so that you have a continual route through that section. Again, Glenwood Avenue remains as a class 3 as it is now. There were recommendations for adding class 3 facilities on Polemus and Almondville, which were also removed. Then El Camino Real is basically, I'll call it a pending to be determined. We had either class 2 regular lanes or options for buffered or separated lanes in the complete street study that we adopted. And those will be moving forward through the project initiation documents that are going to be worked on by Samtrans. And they're going to be linking up our segment, they're calling it the southern segment, that will run from Palo Alto up to Redwood City. And so they're taking our options, throwing them in. I think they have one other option that they're going to be adding into the mix for further study.
Do you know what that option is?
It is a road diet option with a shared use facility on one side, basically because they received some feedback from Menlo Park staff that they're going to be looking at that in Menlo Park. And so if that happens, there's a desire, whatever it is that we have, we want to make sure that we're linking up with both in Redwood City as well as in Menlo Park. With regards to,
Question for you.
yep.
We got a letter today from a resident on Fair Oaks. Is Fair Oaks the class 3?
Fair Oaks is a class 3.
Okay. Do you have signs up to that effect? I don't
We
recall.
have signs and we have markings.
Okay, all right. Oh, we can
Okay.
tell them. Okay, good, thank you.
And then we're going to highlight that in just Fair Oaks in just a second on pedestrian facilities. And so the recommendation for walkway on one side on Selby was removed and to be reevaluated with a future walk audit with Adelante Selby as that moves forward. Keeping the recommendations for walkways on Alameda de las Pulgas and Atherton Avenue. There's enough space between Inglewood and Alameda, but there's a study that you all want to be done to make sure that we can fit it in between El Camino and Inglewood, particularly around the S-curve or however you want to, the wiggle. And then also walkway on one side on Fair Oaks. Walkways also to be implemented on Middlefield, which you are funding in this, yes, today is first day of the fiscal year, the current fiscal year budget. We have studies ongoing for Station Lane and then Watkins Avenue. What was added was a walkway on one side on Oak Grove between Edge Road and Middlefield as a recommendation. And then the others are around the schools up on the west side of town there around, on Alejandra Park, Emily and Elena. And then Valparaiso was, the recommendation on Valparaiso was removed at the last meeting.
Didn't we have pencil on this?
And so it's got bike lanes.
Whatever's in front of their.
Well, it's what we have in front of the
I can't
school
remember what we
and
decided on in front of the school.
we had it as a recommendation along the stretch and that
In front of the school there, we have some.
Yeah, sidewalks, but then the sidewalks,
then we had it extending up to Laurel
yeah,
in the recommendation.
and
And
then,
so I should have put that,
so that's on, because we said yes to that, right?
I believe so.
Okay,
Well, we could say yes if we want to right now.
right, I'm just making sure.
Because I don't.
You said all the other schools, but then.
Yeah.
yes.
School side though, we should also make the
But
recommendation.
wait,
School
let-
side.
Go back one. But Park Lane, Emily and Elena are only adjacent to Sacred Heart.
Yeah,
And
so,
there are
so,
portions of Park Lane, Emily and Elena that don't have sidewalks and go beyond Sacred Heart.
yeah, so on the map, and I can pull it up, it was really that loop around Sacred Heart on Emily, Elena and Park.
But I think we
Um,
should state that it's around Sacred Heart on this so that someone who reads this doesn't get confused.
I will just go to the.
The park is from Emily to Elena.
So this is a map, again, just kind of showing that actually goes to Alejandra because the walkway was coming up.
Yeah.
Alejandra.
Yeah, it's all right around Sacred Heart.
It
I mean,
doesn't
all
continue
of those
past
streets have areas that go beyond that,
Right.
that don't have walks.
Okay.
The slide just references the street, but the actual map would be parking lot. So we just need to be clear.
But we've said within the language of other items, the limitation, so there's no reason not to add full description.
Okay.
So on Ensenal, I think I brought this up last week. So
So,
the street is split, Menlo Park and Avenue. We have bike lanes on our side. I think there are bike lanes on.
there's
our side,
bike lanes
too.
on both sides.
Yeah, okay,
And it's my recollection that the right of way all the way up to Laurel is ours. And the fronting properties for Felton Gables are Menlo Park properties,
no,
but the
no,
roadway, I believe, is
from, yeah,
ours.
from Laurel up to Middlefield on the south side is Atherton's. But from El Camino all the way up to Laurel is Menlo
Yeah.
Park, and El Camino all the way up to the school is Menlo Park.
On the north side.
On the other side,
The Felton Gable side, yes.
yes.
No,
On the other
believe so. I can pull
No,
up.
that's true, it's true, yeah, I don't, maybe you don't believe it, but it's true.
Well, are you saying that the roadway is ours, but even though the property line, even though the
The residents are not.
residents are not? Is that what it
Yeah.
means? Why is that?
It's the way that the lines are. I mean, there are several areas that are like that, like there's portions of Stockbridge where the residents are in unincorporated county, but the roadway is ours.
Okay, and like for my street, Encina, it's not, it's county.
And Encina is split down the middle.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's why I thought this was too.
Yeah, and so no, it's split. When they've paved half the road when we have.
Right. But that's the way. it
Why
is
would
for
they
my
do
street.
that if we own the whole thing?
I get all the mail from Encinal too. On Encina.
I get it.
Well, that's the post office.
Yeah, it is. It happens.
And again, with pedestrian facilities on, we have that shared use pathway on Marsh. Sidewalks, so this is different than the walkway. On one side fronting the multifamily zoning areas, and per the comments last time, it would be contingent on the development of those multifamily properties. And then on El Camino, we have the recommendations for,
Sorry, on the multifamily zoning areas that what am I forgetting? There's that one lot that's kind of 23 Oakwood that's on the border with Redwood City. Do they have sidewalks?
No,
Redwood City
The-
does.
They,
but not, yeah.
they.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
we're gonna put a sidewalk on one lot. Does it connect to anything with that? I
On
don't know
that
if we
one,
wanna
I
make an
believe it
exception.
Next to Redwood
It's
City.
next to
But
Redwood
do they
City.
have sidewalks as many?
Yes.
So it would connect to, it wouldn't just be this random floating sidewalk.
And Atherton.
It wouldn't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that happens all around,
yeah,
you know,
just making
when
sure.
a new development comes up.
Yeah.
In Neville Park, that's happening on, Cambridge Avenue.
That's the only lot that's owned in that area. Just wanted to.
Okay. And then El Camino Real, both of the options that we had in our study had sidewalks on both sides of the street. The final configuration of what that's gonna look like will be in those upcoming studies.
Change the look and feel of El Camino Real,
Good.
for sure. And do we have to pay for that?
Right now, we're not, I said, right now, the funding that we have put towards El Camino are limited to consultant support as these things go on, which you funded in the last fiscal year. So that's kind of carrying forward right now. And then we have our El Camino Selby project, which is grant funded. And then we have the study that you have put into the current year budget to look at El Camino, Atherton, and Fair Oaks. The intersection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the extent of what we have. We're not committed to any other
El Camino
improvements at this time.
Good.
So, intersection recommendations. So kind of gonna just go through toolboxes so we all understand what different things are. So the first one on the right is what we're classifying Group A. These are really just related to roadway striping. And that's putting in advanced yield markings, which look like little shark's teeth to have cars stop in advance of a crosswalk. High visibility crosswalks or the ladder style crosswalks as opposed to the two separate lines on the bounds. And then
Those light up at night when the light hits them, or they
No.
just yellow?
well, yellow is a school zone, white is regular. And so you have high visibility for either one. It's just the pattern of the crosswalk.
Because they do have some things that got like glass or something in it. It
There's
sparkles at night.
glass beads
Yeah.
just to kind of reflect off of headlights, but they don't light up.
Oh.
The next is a little more intended to provide, in the first case, a pedestrian refuge island. So basically, particularly on long crossings, a place for a pedestrian to stand where there's a median and kind of separate them from traffic. And then I think we're all familiar with the accessible curb ramps. Others, which are a bit more expensive, impactful, are new traffic signals, hybrid beacons, roundabout, rapid flashing beacons, which you all are familiar with. And so those are just tools in the toolbox for doing improvements. And so as we go through the different intersections, I do want to highlight that though we are, for example, listing the desire for improvements along El Camino Real, for example, the actual what those are going to be is really going to be determined by those studies that are being done. And there is a desire to make, we have the desire for pedestrian facilities, bike facilities on the roadway. And so similarly, having crossing improvements that correspond and correlate with that to make those crossings safer is something that needs to be incorporated in the study and the future improvements. Similarly, on Middlefield Road, you've appropriated funds for pedestrian improvements on Middlefield. So as we go down that, we're going to be looking at each of those intersections to make sure that the crossing improvements are appropriate. Several of the recommendations are either A, already in place, or B, being highlighted otherwise. And so, for example, we already have high visibility crosswalks on Middlefield Road, which we implemented. So it's there, should have it. We already have them. We have ramps already on Middlefield. There's just not a continuous walkway, which again is being funded. And then we have the studies for, Watkins and Fair Oaks, which is ongoing, which will really determine, I think with that evaluation, the rapid flashing beacons and the hawk signals didn't meet the warrants, and the traffic signals did. And so, yes, sir.
Yeah, that Watkins and El Camino, part of that's Menlo Park, where they have that office building, it's Menlo Park. So then they would be paying their half of it, or?
At this point, we're not saying that we are responsible for paying for it. El Camino Real is a state highway. The ultimate responsibility is with the state, and any endeavors that we do along El Camino is likely going to be partnered with others, and not take it. I don't think that we can afford to do a lot of work on El Camino on our own. And so whether it is a joint partnership with Menlo Park or grant funded, like the Selby intersection, we are looking for others to help pay for these.
But I think a light at Watkins and El Camino was subject to the Caltrain obligation.
You are correct. I think that was part of the EIR related to the electrification and the build out of their schedule.
So that's not on us.
Right.
At all.
Right. And some of the things that you have listed here, I guess, they're already there.
Some are, yes.
El Camino and Encinal, you say, well, the recommendation is to put in, all this stuff for crossing, but we have a signal there.
Mm-hmm.
They have the ramp cut in. There's a crosswalk. Whether it's high visibility or not, it's wide.
Do you have a slide with the list on it for us to?
I
instead of us
don't,
working
but
on?
it's in the
It's
staff
in the staff
report.
report.
Page 17.
Yeah, I see, I'm more for us, instead of us looking at a picture and picking intersections at random, maybe we work through a list.
Okay, give me a second and I can pull up.
Yeah. That's
Or-
fine. I mean,
or
more
no.
like just pull with, so we're all not missing any.
If El Camino's redone, all that has to be sort of listed out to make sure it gets done again. So if they redo El Camino, then having a list.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a pedestrian refuge island on that intersection
On El Camino,
on El Camino.
yeah, there is, and there's a place where you can stand at Encinal.
It's not an island though, it's more of just a
It's
spot.
the center median,
Yeah, it's
but
a
it's
center
before
median
the
spot.
crosswalk.
Right,
And these need to be protected in the crosswalk.
right.
So-
Okay. Well,
There's a curb on the front so that the car hits you in the middle rather than on your legs.
And does more damage to the car. That's only fair.
That's right.
Okay, here we go. All right, Alameda at Stockbridge is currently stop controlled on Stockbridge. We have the rapid flashing beacons at high visibility crosswalk that we are planning to put in. Alameda at Atherton Avenue is currently a four-way stop, and that's going to be that roundabout with high visibility crossings. Alameda at Camino al Lago is currently a two-way stop on
Page 16.
Camino al Lago. And that will be signalized with high visibility crosswalks and curb extensions.
Those have all been funded, those are all happening.
That's happening.
Yeah, okay. just making sure. I
Okay.
didn't hallucinate.
Atherton at Selby. This is currently a one-way stop on Selby side. As we develop the plan for the walkway on Atherton, that would include at least a crossing on the Selby side. Having an uncontrolled crosswalk across Atherton is a little bit of a concern. And so we wouldn't stripe a crosswalk without some sort of traffic control on Atherton, which is not contemplated at this time.
With traffic control via stop sign.
At Selby and Atherton, you only stop on Selby right now.
But, so
I
wait,
know, but
so
I
you're
would-
saying we wouldn't put in a crosswalk without putting in a
Some sort of control
a stop
device.
sign?
The stop sign.
No, well,
Rapid flashing.
or rapid flashing beacon or something else.
Or
But keep in mind, there's no place right now from one side to the other to go right now.
So we're not gonna do any.
As we do that walkway, there'd at least be the crossing across Selby. Park Lane and Elena, I think is just 2 lines, and so that'll be changed to high visibility crosswalk, because it's right there around the schools. Valparaiso and Elena is currently a one-way stop control. And I'm gonna highlight these ones at and around the schools. There are certainly ways to improve those with rapid flashing beacons. They are shared intersections, and they are also related to private schools. And so if desired, the schools can help partner funding. We would coordinate with Menlo Park for those as
And
well.
they've already put in some of these. Sacred Heart already has some in.
Yeah, Elena has a crosswalk.
Elena has a crosswalk.
Right.
It doesn't have
And
any.
rapid flashing beacon.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Oh,
There's no
we had it
flash.
The other day.
No, it doesn't.
At Elena?
On Elena.
Not on Elena. There's one further.
Oh, there's one at the
down.
entrance to the school.
No.
Right as you go in, where the cars drive in, there's a rapid flashing beacon, and it's on the east side of the entrance to the school, where they also have a crossing guard.
Yeah.
And there is a crosswalk that's
Pedestrian.
painted there too.
Debated.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Pedestrian.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's on Valparaiso.
that's not, but that's not, it's not at Elena.
It's in the middle of Valparaiso at the entrance.
Right, at the entrance, that's what I said, where the cars go.
I know that's what you said.
And then again, we talked about El Camino Real. We talked about walk-ins at Station Lane, that's funded currently and being reviewed. And then Fair Oaks at Middlefield, we talked about. Middlefield at Holbrook. Again, this is going to be linear along Middlefield as we do the improvements for the walkway.
I don't know why we're going through this if we're gonna come back and talk about every single one of these intersections. Why don't
Yeah, are there
we
ones,
just do that?
yeah, what, were there ones that we skipped that you didn't talk about already, that we didn't get?
Is there something that you wanted to talk about
Yeah,
specifically?
let's go
Well,
through this.
you said that the proposal for Selby and Atherton Avenue isn't sufficient, that it requires some other device. The proposal is for a high visibility crosswalk, right?
Yes.
And you said that's not sufficient, it requires.
For
I know.
crossing, so we have a stop sign on Selby. And so with the linear improvement of the walkway on Atherton Avenue, you'd have that high visibility crossing and ramps going across Selby.
Cross Selby.
If
Because
you
there's a
would
stop
like,
sign there.
there's a stop sign there. There's no control on Atherton
So there'd be
Avenue.
no crosswalk across Atherton Avenue
Not
unless we.
Unless you decide that you want to do something else there as well, consistent with that. And it's certainly doable with rapid flashing beacon, but
I see.
the comment is you don't just stripe the crosswalk across Atherton Avenue
No.
because the cars aren't stopping and
So I may be old and confused at this point, but I always thought that there was, from Caltrain Trans, the warrants to do stop light at Selby and Atherton Avenue. At Selby and El Camino.
Yeah, I thought we.
Selby and El
Oh,
Camino.
that's different.
That's different,
Oh,
we're
okay.
talking about.
Yeah,
Atherton Avenue.
the question is about Selby at Atherton
Selby,
Avenue, which is
there's
a
the
lot
T
of
intersection.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good, okay, because that's what I think needs to be done, like, right away.
well, I think we should at least have a discussion
Yeah.
about whether there should be a crosswalk across Atherton Avenue. Personally, I think that probably if we have, it's not decided where the walkway would be, but if the walkway were on the east side, on the side that is, I guess, the south side, I don't know, people get confused about what direction is what, but
On the Menlo Park.
on the,
Facing
right, on the
side.
Menlo Park side, if the walkway's on that side, we probably don't need anything coming across Atherton Avenue. If the walkway is on the other side, we obviously need the crosswalk across Selby, and maybe we don't need a crosswalk across Atherton Avenue, but I think we should discuss it. And there has been a fair amount of advocacy from people living along Atherton Avenue for a stop sign at that intersection. And I know that the cars that back up on Selby Lane to turn typically left onto Atherton Avenue, they can be quite long. They can be,
Right.
I've seen.
Because people are afraid to go into the.
Yeah, nobody
traffic.
slows down for you right there. It's
Yeah.
basically just blaze by you.
No, there can be 7 or 8 cars
Right.
waiting.
Okay,
I don't have a strong opinion about it. I'm just saying, let's at least address it because it is an issue that's come up.
So what is the process if we wanted to add a stop sign in the future? How does that?
We would
What does
have
the
to
stop
do
sign
a
do?
warrant analysis for the intersection. Which is, we'd hire a consultant, they'd go out and do counts on traffic and pedestrians and other things to see whether or not things trigger, kind of what was done for the other
Like.
intersections. And we can certainly do that, to make that determination. The only thing I'll caution, and I think Jerry and Tom and others that are on the transportation committee, is that stop signs are not a speed control device. They're intended for safety and other and mobility reasons, and you don't just put them in. So that's why you have that warrant analysis done.
It sounds
And
like
so we can take that feedback and we can incorporate that, and if warranted, either look at the recommendation for either a stop sign or a rapid flashing beacon to facilitate that crossing.
so can I ask a question? There are no other stop signs along Atherton Avenue from El Camino to
No.
Alameda, right?
Correct.
Unlike the other streets that make that,
Right,
That's why it's
So-
so popular with traffic.
so yeah, I mean, I think that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah, well, that's a street that I'm thinking that we'd have to look at the whole street to really understand where the stop sign should be. Right, this is one intersection we know is an issue.
There's only 2 places that a
Yeah.
stop sign could be, at either Selby Lane or Austin.
Yeah,
Awesome.
those are the only ones that
And that's
go.
at the,
Right,
They're the only
Further
cross
west.
streets. There are other streets that come
Right,
in but
right,
don't go across.
You
right.
could do it on.
Selby doesn't go across.
Elena doesn't go, no, all the other streets don't go across. There's several
Well,
streets.
Selby does. It only,
Selby
tees into
doesn't,
it.
you're right.
okay, I'm sorry.
And the lane is
That is-
It just seems like there are a couple of streets like Middlefield and Atherton Avenue that have a thoroughfare effect that needs to be looked at from end to end rather than just incidents at one time. And the more we add sort of piecemeal on a Middlefield or Atherton Avenue, the more likely we are to really mess it up.
Well, I think the reason Selby Lane at Atherton should have a stop sign is because Selby Lane is kind of an arterial.
Right,
It's not just a residential street, like maybe that has a cul-de-sac like
Right.
Clay, right? That comes on to
Yeah,
Atherton.
Or even
agree.
Elena.
Or even Elena,
Yeah.
yeah, because, so this is definitely more of a,
That, I agree. This
and
one
so I
definitely is.
think that would warrant.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think a study should be made about.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And it'll give us, it's a warrant study,
Right.
so we'll get some
Yeah.
information and
Right.
see. It doesn't mean we have to do it, even if it has the warrants.
Right.
I think we should.
Yeah, no,
Robert,
Make sure we
I'm
have
just
the
getting that
warrants with the
clarification,
Selby
yes.
at-
Would that warrant study that we discussed also cover the intersection of
At Elena?
Elena?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
we've got
Atherton
those.
Avenue?
get that going.
Yes.
That's happening.
But you had a question up
Okay,
here.
so there's a question from committee member Owen as to, do we want to, I'm gonna interpret that as, do we want to look at more than just that one intersection? And so as I recall, the major street, major is a stretch, but the streets that intersect that you may want to consider are, you have Selby. Austin also stretches all the way out to Selby. So those two streets are rather long, so they do collect a bit of traffic coming into Atherton Avenue. And then on the other side, there's Berry Lane, which is a connection where people end up going to the schools. And then committee member Owen also mentioned Elena. And so I don't know that they all,
Does Elena connect?
Elena
Could collect
tees
with
into
the-
Atherton, but that stretch of Elena is about a block.
Yeah, effectively Elena and Barry.
Runs into
connect.
Isabella.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
Yeah,
it's also, that's our bike lane through the town is going through Elena, so people have to turn
Yeah.
left from Atherton Avenue to get to Elena, which is a very tricky experience on bike if you're coming from Alpino, and it's also people walk. So I've seen people run across the street there. So
Very,
if
very
we're
rare.
doing studies, like I would say, it's worth the study from.
okay.
I
It sounded
So,
like we're
Right,
wondering
because the
where on
bridge
Atherton Avenue would
constricts.
we,
Right,
You go
Put
over
the
bridge
stop
and
sign.
you're constricted.
right.
and if we can get down the rabbit hole of West Selby, or we can look at
Right.
the length of Atherton Avenue, because there's,
Right.
the reasons, I mean, the east-west, or that's right, the north-south thoroughfare is hard between Austin, Elena. Barry gets used for folks coming,
to and from the school.
well, to and from the school, but generally coming from the west down Atherton Avenue. You can turn on Barry. If you're coming from El Camino, you're gonna turn on Elena. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's just
To get
lots
up
of
to the
variables
bridge,
up and down the
it's
lane. And I agree with you, George, that let's look at the length of Atherton Avenue and solve that problem. Then we'll figure out what time.
So do you want us to look at,
Elena.
that's 4, do you want us to look at all 4 of those?
Well, the length of that, I would say the length of that, of Atherton Avenue, and that we probably know the 4, right? But you're also talking about it El Camino too, right?
Well, El
Yeah,
Camino's
that's
different.
El Camino's a whole different deal.
Okay.
Yeah, the bigger issue with Atherton Avenue is the width,
With
right?
So
tricky
wiggle.
spot.
Is it single wiggle or 2 width?
It's one wiggle.
The wiggle,
Yeah.
okay, so
When you
there's
get to
narrowness
Yeah,
and
I
the
drive that all
wiggle
the time, yeah.
that,
It's a technical-
Well, the
creates a
narrowness
problem.
actually happens before the turn.
Right.
We're gonna patent that term. And
It
make it-
Put a big
Put
sign.
it in the dictionary
Wiggle.
for next year.
will be in the traffic
That
sign.
would be another
Wiggle.
definition of a wiggle.
Yeah.
To say also a wiggle on the street.
Transportation.
Okay, so we've made it to 4, and then, so we are all supportive of a stop sign study for Atherton Avenue and Selby, and then also expanding the Atherton Avenue corridor
Or some kind
for
of,
stop signs,
some kind of activity on the street, doesn't have to be a stop sign, right?
yeah, or whatever.
Whatever is
These
appropriate.
quick insert. But would we tie this study to adding the pedestrian pathway, or are we saying that we want it independent of that?
But so,
As part of it.
It's gonna happen based on what is there now, which is not a formal pedestrian pathway.
Right, but we have it in our plan to add, that's what I'm asking. We have it in the
so
plan to add
there's
that.
2 parts, right? One is, first, we're adopting a plan to say this is where we would like routes over time.
Right.
You appropriate money over time based on, I mean, one of the next steps is prioritization, trying to pick which routes are in kind of what order we would try and tackle these things. It's not an overnight thing, and one of the policy discussions that you'll have later on is, do we ask developers as they're building their frontages to do some of these improvements for us? Or for the community? And we'll get into that conversation a little bit later, but that helps implement these things. The analysis on the intersections we can do separate from that to see what is warranted now, because these are, we're talking about relatively inexpensive improvements at an intersection. If that's the route that you want to go, I think that we can do that pretty easily. Okay.
Okay, so then the next on the list is Parks and Elena. Park Lane and Elena, should we talk about this intersection with the Valparaiso one, or do Elena all
Well,
together?
this is on the backside of the school.
Right.
It is, right now it's just a yellow two stripe crosswalks for the four legs. It's a four-way stop, I
It's a
believe.
four-way stop.
Yeah, and so it's just turning it into high visibility.
But I have to say that after people stop at that, going from Valparaiso, they stop on that line, stop sign, and they cross over, and from there, they book it really fast, all the way to where then they go up to Pax and
Either very
to-
early.
Yeah, to get to, yeah, and it's like a speed ramp. So I think we should need to have more officer presence out there. Chief,
Sorry, location again?
on,
On Elena between
Park and-
Park
Park.
and,
Along the
and-
Circus Club.
well, in Atherton Avenue, but you know, it's really.
So they quite get the, yeah, that's right.
It's the cut through from Valparaiso to Atherton Avenue.
And I think we did do a study once, and we didn't find anybody.
No, right.
I remember.
All about timing.
Alright,
Gotta
okay,
be there at
so,
the right time.
so we already have
You weren't
a
driving.
stop sign, so we just wanna upgrade those crosswalks.
Yep.
I think we're all good with that.
Yeah.
So the next one is Valparaiso and Elena, which has a one-way stop, and we are recommending rapid flashing beacons.
Yeah, if there's a crossing to be made on Valparaiso, it would be with a high visibility crosswalk and rapid flashing beacons. And so that's
And that's a shared,
Yeah.
shared, yes.
We split that cost with Menlo.
We would split it with Menlo. We could have a conversation with Sacred Heart because it's their students. There are opportunities for
do that.
The
for
question is
sharing
that,
that.
do the kids walk down that street to get
Talk
into
to
that
Sacred
side?
Heart, they should pay part of it.
They
There-
ride their bikes, yeah.
It's a busy
Yeah.
intersection.
And they have, isn't
It
that
is.
where the performing arts?
No, that's on the other side.
What's there on, I thought they just built
You
something.
know, I don't think they have a lot of
On that
entrances
Atlanta
to the campus.
They
off
have
of-
one on that corner.
Do they?
I don't
Right
think so either.
Off of Elena?
Off of Elena.
There are entrances into a parking lot,
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
it's
just.
always,
Shut
locked
off.
up. Yeah, shut
yeah,
off.
but they have control over it.
Okay, well,
So I would think that from there, they could just walk down to the entrance and go in, because that's the main entrance to the school.
But I
And then there's.
no,
one
that's
of
not the main entrance.
Classes on that side.
Main
That's where
entrance to
they-
the schools.
Down, he's saying if they
I
walk
think Sacred Heart
down.
could probably sell a
Uh,
name.
no,
on it.
right, so-
Yeah, you walk down, you just walk down, there's a bike lane
Could've funded
there, it's
that
already
way.
paved.
And then have to look back at that hall down and we moved
Okay, I think,
4 or 5 different things
but I
like
think
it.
it sounds like there's support for improvements on this intersection.
Okay.
Which will require a study, whatever the study.
Well,
And
This is just for a rapid flashing. The biggest improvement to that intersection is already an existing crosswalk, is a rapid flashing.
I think that is needed, that's a busy intersection. Do we know if Menlo Park has plans for that intersection?
Have they
They
what?
Does
already
Menlo
done
Park
their
put any
investment.
plan, I mean, they have a master plan as well, is this intersection on their plan at all?
Don't know.
Oh, it was discussed in the course of increasing the speed limit on Valparaiso. think it's in their plan, but I don't know what they're proposing, but it was discussed.
Didn't we decrease the speed?
Yeah,
we
we
decreased
decreased
Oh,
the
I
speed.
thought I heard you say.
Yeah, we shrank the lanes and
Right,
decreased the speed.
right.
Okay, so I
Um,
think we're supportive of that one. So moving on to 7, that's Valparaiso and Emily,
And
same.
so that currently has a crosswalk there. There is a striped median. And so.
There's a
um,
crosswalk
across
Both.
Valparaiso with a rapid flashing beacon. I think this is the one that
Emily?
council member.
At Emily?
No, sorry, I skipped over to Hoover, so I
Yeah, no,
apologize.
yeah, it's not
Emily.
at Emily, there's nothing.
No, the lane.
I think
Okay,
Emily's
so-
a one-way stop right now.
Yeah,
It is.
It's a one-way
And I
stop.
don't know if there's a crosswalk across,
No.
is there a cross
There
Emily?
isn't.
No?
They have like this little curb that's in the, like in the middle of the road, you know, so people don't know which lane to turn into from Valparaiso onto Emily, and it only goes, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet.
Well, is the proposal for a crosswalk across Emily or across
this would be
Valparaiso or
across
across
Valparaiso.
across Valparaiso?
Rapid flashing beacon.
People are always crossing there, always,
Both are visible.
always.
Crossing Valparaiso?
Crossing Valparaiso, coming from Emily, both ways, coming from Valparaiso onto Emily and from Emily over, yeah, so,
So yeah, we're supportive.
Yeah.
Okay. Hoover and Valparaiso
who's who?
already has the rapid flashing
They
beacon.
have a stop sign. They have a-
So.
yeah.
They have the rapid flashing beacon, that's when you were talking about.
Yeah, so and there's also a striped median there, and so
There's a raised median right now?
striped.
It's right.
It's striped, and so the recommendation is to see if we can't fit in some sort of pedestrian refuge with some advanced field markings.
You know,
Why do we need that?
yeah, I don't think we need it.
Okay,
I mean,
I don't think we.
you know, these guys put stop signs and rapid flashing beacons at every intersection on every major road.
So would it,
That's what they've done,
Who?
which I think we
The-
need to
the
use some
consultant.
judgment to decide where we really do need these things. Because all we're doing is just,
That's our job. That's what
so
we're
can
doing.
I ask a question, because these are all close to each other, would it make sense to lump them as one study? So like right now, we just did Fair Oaks and Watkins as one traffic signal study for that area, these all work together, serve this
There's no
similar.
study required for these.
Or more like, would it make sense, to Bill's point, instead of us like independently adding 3, like they work together, should we have them as a single project or?
so
I don't think Hoover's.
at this time, we're not
Well, like,
implementing
when we
any
prioritize
projects.
it,
It's-
I think Hoover and Emily are totally different.
Totally different, you're right, absolutely.
There's absolutely, the only relationship is they're both on Valparaiso.
So,
So no, no
So
support.
we can get rid of the pedestrian refuge.
Yeah, I don't think we
Right.
need
yeah,
it.
that's the biggest change to that intersection. The
Right.
restriping it with a bright yellow in front of the school, that's probably a good thing to do. But pedestrian refuge is a policy.
yeah, I think that your normal maintenance where you're painting this, redoing the bike lanes and stuff, if you wanna make them high vis, be my guest. I don't think we need to discuss those, cause you're just gonna go do it.
Yeah, I think the high is,
Okay,
right. I look forward to that.
so I don't know how much detail you want to get into on El Camino. That all requires real evaluation. But we're happy to talk about.
The only
Yeah.
question I would have on El Camino is if we don't have exactly what we want and they come in and say, what do you want? What are you gonna say?
So we
Say what you-
have our 2 alternatives that the council kind of blessed to move forward
Right.
with additional study.
Right,
That additional study is now, the torch is going to be carried by Samtrans. And along with those 2, they're adding in a 3rd alternative. And based on that, they're going to do the traffic modeling, they're going to do the analysis of what the impacts are.
They'll do.
And Caltrans will be involved in that. We will be involved in it, as will Menlo Park and the county, because the stretch runs through.
Right.
as that study is done, there's going to be feedback that we will be sharing with the council. And ultimately, we're going to be looking forward to a preferred alternative. And so,
So-
yeah.
I have two comments on the El Camino stuff in total.
Mhm.
And one of them I care a lot about, and one of them I don't care so much about. The one I don't care so much about is at Alejandra, it doesn't recommend a pedestrian refuge island. And if I recall, there was someone killed at going across that
There is
crosswalk.
a hawk beacon, so it's pedestrian
No,
activated.
there's a hawk beacon, yeah.
And so pedestrians.
So
cross
maybe you
over
don't
there.
need
You don't need.
island because of that. Okay,
No.
that's fair. The one I care about is it's recommending putting the hawk beacon like we have at Alejandra at Tuscaloosa and Stockbridge, and I think that makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I agree.
Yeah,
Are those recommended assuming there's a sidewalk?
well, it says high visibility crosswalk.
This is all just
That's
part of the
jumping
El
down,
Camino.
right?
Yeah, so just a point of clarity. These recommendations kind of go hand in hand with the overall improvement of El Camino. And the presumption at this point is that there's going to be some sort of bike and pet facility along the stretch of El Camino based on the studies that we've done. And so it may be better to list these as alternatives to be evaluated, PHB versus signal versus other. But there's a need for improvement at those intersections along with the improvements of the entire corridor. And
Well, there's
so-
other streets that aren't
It's
listed
PHB.
here,
Yeah, right.
right? Maple, you have Maple on both sides of El Camino. It's not listed.
Maple's not
To-
traffic.
Well, Tuscaloosa and Stockbridge don't go across. Maple goes across.
Yeah.
So I'm not advocating anything for Maple, but I think
don't
to add two more
Tuscaloosa is.
hot
no.
beacons
Mhm.
So,
between.
I mean, what is the, I guess, what is the usage, you know?
I think the point though is that all this is tied to sidewalks being on El Camino, so maybe we table all these until that
So-
design is finalized, or.
What,
Part of the design,
so
right?
I'll make a suggestion. So what we did with the bike and pet improvement is we basically said, we highlighted the corridor, and we can certainly do the same thing with this rather than listing each individual intersection. Highlight the corridor and indicate that each of the intersections needs to be reviewed and evaluated for improvement, consistent with those other studies that are happening. Which is kind of the way that we highlighted the linear thing, acknowledging that there's a need.
Right, right.
And
Well, let me just interrupt you.
Yeah.
The reason we want to put a new signal at Watkins is because there is definitely a need, you know, because it has so much traffic. The reason we did the hot beacon at Alejandra and Isabella, I think, is because of the need for crossing. The school, the college is there, and there's so much crossing over from Alejandra. And,
And there's bus stops there.
and there's, okay, bus stops. And then, but the Isabella, I always kind of wondered about that.
there's a bus
It's
stop
because
in the park.
it's the direct route to the park, right?
It's the
so
direct route,
direct.
and Almondral is because of the fire station.
And Almondral is because of the fire station. So I understand those three, but to put any more, I think it's a little.
That's my point.
That's my
They
comment.
put one at almost every intersection.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that they're all necessary. If there's a bus stop there, sure,
Mayor.
but
Yeah.
She wants-
Ah,
I
go
was
for
saying
it.
if there's sidewalks on both sides, you can cross at one of those and then walk down to the street you want to get to and
Right,
go down that street.
yeah, because right now, walking down El Camino, it's not a good thing.
So, Robert, will you explain your recommendation again, that it's essentially just highlighting the whole corridor?
So as we did with the pedestrian and with the bike,
Mhm.
we highlighted the corridor and outlined that there's a desire for sidewalk on both sides. The configuration will be determined based on the other studies of the corridor. And so similarly, we can either A, cross out a couple of these intersections like you're doing now in your conversation. Or we can just, again, highlight the corridor and indicate that the intersections need to be, should be improved and be done consistent with the other studies that are happening.
So we're waiting
You're
until
kidding
we
me.
get the El Camino.
Yeah, I
A little
guess it-
firmer what El Camino's really.
the
gonna
only
be like.
exceptions to that are really, we are already moving forward with Selby, right?
Right.
And
Selby
at El Camino.
at El Camino, the stoplight.
And we asked you to look at, we've asked you
Okay,
to look at.
and you've
the
asked us to
Atherton
look at
crossing.
Atherton Avenue, Fair Oaks.
Right,
Okay, and so those are
Those two.
two intersections that are highlighted based on current direction from the council.
But Atherton Avenue already has, and Ferris already has a stoplight. We're adding a new one for
oh, trying
Selby.
to fix it because.
Well, it's either a stoplight or a PHP. That's the recommendation.
Ooh. For
That's what it's
Selby
been.
at-
Yeah, that's what it's
Yeah.
been for years.
Right now,
I know, but
we can't,
I don't think.
a bicyclist can't push the button to
Right,
go
and
across the
neither
road.
can, right,
And, so the
So-
Atherton Ave, Fair Oaks, crossing El Camino needs to be fixed, and we said we would do, we were funding a study.
Yeah,
So we're
we've
moving
already
forward there,
funded
that's
both of
it.
those, so we don't need to talk about them, because they're already funded, we don't need to plan for them, because they're funded, so.
I like the idea of addressing the corridor. What I
Right.
don't want is a document to go out that says we're making a recommendation to put a PHB at Tuscaloosa and at
Mhm.
Stockbridge.
Right.
That I don't want.
right.
All right, so like I said, we can revise that recommendation, just basically highlighting that all of the intersections will be reviewed as part of that study, with the two highlights being the projects that, outside of that, the two intersections that were already
But I
studied.
think what Rick was saying is take those two out.
Yeah.
Don't say,
I
we're
think-
gonna look at it, because that's not saying.
No,
we're
he's
taking
saying
them out.
we're just gonna look at the whole corridor.
Every intersection.
You don't have to be specific as to PHB or
Yeah.
Correct,
RRF.
the ones he's saying that we pull out are the ones that we are already studying.
Yeah.
Looking for improvement.
So are there any intersections on El Camino besides Selby and Atherton Avenue that you want to pull independent of the sidewalk project and bike lane project for this plan?
There is one to note that's ECR and Watkins
That's
as part
what
of
I'm
the
saying for.
Caltrain mitigation measure. When Caltrain reaches a certain tier of ridership, it will be signalized.
And that's when they'll pay for it, but because the usage is very high on Watkins, I see a lot of people turning left.
Oh, it's horrible. It's,
Yeah.
So I
and they even put a sign that says
dangerous.
you cannot turn left
That's a
after
hard-
5 o'clock,
4
or 6,
o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Yeah, and people still do.
Of course they do, they
So
don't
I'm
read signs.
wondering if that one
We
merits.
can pull that out and keep that
Yeah.
as a signal.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. But I don't want El Camino, our stretch of 1.6 miles of El Camino to look like Redwood City. In
Yeah.
every block, there's a stoplight.
That's right, that's what I was
So
bringing.
don't do that, please.
And that's exactly what this study does, both at Middlefield as
No,
well
no,
as.
but
El
Robert's
Camino.
gonna change it.
Right, that's, yeah.
Well, and the study didn't say stoplights everywhere, but they did the hawk beacons, the
Yeah.
PHBs. And that can be annoying also.
Well, like I said, they've done it at every intersection on
Okay.
Middlefield as well.
Okay, so
All right.
now we're moving on.
I want to point out that I do like on Fifth Avenue, I like the idea of the refuge island
Yeah,
for pedestrians. Which
Yes.
would be orthogonal to anything that happens on El Camino,
I
just.
agree with that one.
Well, that'll be paid for by
The county.
North Fair Oaks,
That's the county.
not the county.
The
We don't have to pay for
But that intersection gets a lot of, there's a bus stop right there, so that gets a
That's right.
lot of.
Yeah.
There's a bus stop
pedestrian
there.
Yeah,
usage.
but that should be in there.
Oh, that
Not
recycle.
necessarily in ours.
Okay. Well, we can move on.
So, okay, so now we're moving on. We can
21.
skip That's El Camino. We've
22.
already, so 22 is Sparrows Lane, which is the middle field. We've already, that's studied.
Yeah,
We've
so that's
already
being
funded.
changed over to Signal because
Yeah.
of the analysis that we did. Same with Watkins because of the analysis that we did. Ravenswood is a shared intersection with Menlo Park, and I think as part of their overall
Wait,
plan.
you skip Middlefield and Holbrook.
That's improving this crosswalk.
I thought that.
Visibility.
That's just
on-
linear.
on
That's
Ravenswood,
We'll take that one
we don't own the road. We own to the edge of the road, but we do not own the road. So it's all Menlo Park.
What is?
Ravenswood.
This is the intersection of Ravenswood, that we own parts of that intersection.
We own parts of the Ravenswood
I
intersection.
don't see how.
We have the school side frontage and
The
then.
school side, the frontage, but just like those houses, they go right up to the street. That's where our property ends. It's all the streets are owned by the county.
But I'd like to understand what's being proposed.
Yeah, can you
Okay,
walk through that
so-
before we talk about who owns it?
Okay, so which intersection are we talking about now?
We're on
Ravenswood.
25.
Right?
25, Ravenswood. So right now in Menlo Park, there is the slip lane,
Uh-huh.
the pork chop island, whatever you want to call it. And
Which is an island in the road with the bike lane to the right of it, is that correct? Or is that
It's
for a
just
right turn?
right now there's a right turn lane that kind of slips through. This is in Menlo Park, and in Menlo Park's plan, they have had a plan to redo the intersection. Ultimately, it'll likely get done with the
That's all right.
SRI development. But it's an acknowledgement that we own 3 corners of that intersection.
We own 3/4 of it?
3 corners.
Quarters.
Three
So-
quarters. So we have the school side.
We don't own.
Wait, sorry, I cannot hear you because there's,
Yeah.
because
So-
George was
A
having
lot of
side
sidebars
chatter over
going
here.
on, okay? City
So-
manager.
We have the
You
school
wanna hear
side of the
everybody?
intersection.
This is
No,
a
you
public
can't
meeting.
put it up on the
Keep
board.
going, Robert. So
I
do
will
we,
try.
do we own that pork chop? That's.
No, that corner is Menlo Park.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say that whole intersection needs to be redone. And so we own the school side,
Hmm.
and I believe we also own the side fronting Ravenswood across from SRI.
Yeah, because.
Yeah, that's
Right,
ours.
that's the
property.
multifamily.
Yeah.
That's Edgerton and that's
Yeah.
multifamily.
So it's an acknowledgement that it's a shared intersection that needs to be improved, getting rid of that channelized right turn and looking at how we can facilitate the bike access in and around the intersection as well. Yes,
But won't all that be massively changed?
Yes.
When SRI does their
Yes.
thing? So why are we even spending any brain on now? Because it's all gonna go, everything has,
this is an opportunity for us to say that this intersection needs to be improved.
yeah.
It's
yes.
not saying we're gonna
Let's
do
just
it.
say that.
Just
I
say it needs
mean,
to be improved.
this is more words than that.
Yeah.
But SRI is
We're gonna
gonna,
jump.
SRI is gonna change that.
Yeah.
So-
As is the geologic
So-
survey.
Yes.
Is this what
And
Menlo
the
Park
tower.
is? In Menlo Park plan, is this?
Oh,
is
and you
this the
wait
same?
for
It has been
Office
for a while,
development.
but
Yeah.
it's been deferred based on
That's what you're talking
SRI.
It's massive.
And that's what the
Yeah.
Have
intersection
you
looks
heard
like
of
on the
this big
screen.
office
Yeah,
development?
but I have the Google, Street View.
There's too many
plan
people
right now.
talking.
We need some kind of leadership.
Well, I'm doing my best here, you guys. Everyone's side chatting is,
I mean,
so,
put on your
Yeah,
boss
so-
hat.
so,
We're-
Okay.
all right,
We're
so,
almost through this part and then we get to the hard part.
okay. Do you want it on that intersection?
Yeah,
Okay.
on this intersection. So I like the idea of stating that this needs to be improved and recognizing that it's going to have a good deal of impact when SRI project gets done. What I don't like is, because I don't know what it means, I don't really like making a recommendation that we should install a bike signal and construct a jug handle bicycle left turn east side of blah, blah, blah. I don't know what any of that means. And if we're gonna recommend it, we have to know what it means. So I'm very comfortable saying the intersection needs to be improved.
And then we'll review it when the SRI stuff comes out. Very at the end.
We will review it when the SRI stuff comes out, but the SRI project is not in Atherton.
Yeah.
And we do not control
Right,
what they actually do or have to mitigate. We can provide comment to their development, but it's not in the town. So if we have a plan that says, this is what we want to see at that intersection,
we're
that
kind of
gives us a
preempting
little
George
more.
Will.
We've told them what
See,
our
I can
plans
see
were
that.
before in Menlo Park, they're
Right,
sticking
it
horses
would
in anyway.
inform SRI's planning to
Uh-huh.
see what the
It's
two
true.
towns have wanted at that
Mm-hmm.
intersection. My question was more, does our plan align with Menlo Park's plan? Because if it's the same plan, then SRI, I assume, is gonna follow both of our
Right.
plans.
Well, we don't know Menlo Park's plan.
That, when you guys were side chatting, that was my question for Robert and
Did
George.
he answer?
Yeah, he was.
Well, can't we say that this intersection needs improvement and we will work with Menlo Park to come up with a plan to improve the intersection?
We own 3/4 of it. So we should drive the
Right.
reconfiguration.
Well,
We're the
but-
majority stakeholder
Yeah.
here.
But you don't know what's gonna happen with, it may be that SRI pays for the whole thing.
Well, I don't know.
But I
what that
think
means in-
George's point is that
Oh.
when SRI does pay for the whole thing and they make their plan, they're gonna refer to our plan and Menlo Park's plan. And so if we aren't specific in what we
Correct.
want,
Yeah.
then Menlo Park's plan will carry the day, or whatever they, or if they don't have a plan, then they'll. pick
But they
their
can't
plan.
change the intersection without us, because we own 3/4 of it. Right.
Do they have to get approval?
Don't they have to get approval from us to change the intersection?
They can't just get.
They can't do it themselves.
Mona's
Oh,
I think
Mona,
Mona has a comment.
Where are you?
So we are a responsible agency, so for purposes of CEQA and mitigating traffic impacts, that would, one, be considered an off-site impact and improvement, but they would have to coordinate with the responsible agency to ensure that they are, mitigating it to a less than significant level. So the point of today's exercise with respect to this particular intersection is so that the town develops what it believes should be kind of the performance standards and the improvements that are necessary so that they comply with those and coordinate with the town when making that happen. But they cannot make improvements to town property without obtaining, appropriate permits.
Of course, that's what we're saying.
Okay,
That's what we've been saying.
Is
So-
there a shorter term, so their development could take 6 years. So is there a safety issue that we need to address between now and whenever they do it? Because even if they start building, let's say they start building in 4.5, 5 years, which is what I think would take on the size of this development. If they start building then, we'll have this interim effect of their development. And so it could be like 7 years before we ever get to this utopia of whatever we finally want. But don't we have a responsibility to do something in the interim right now? And I don't know if it's all this, because I didn't understand what that meant.
Okay, so right now, it's a signalized intersection that provides access directly to the school. Okay. So you have the pedestrian push buttons, you have the accessible ramps, et cetera there. The only improvement that's gonna happen in town, development wise, is you've zoned those homes on Ravenswood as multifamily. And through what we talked about, they would theoretically be building a sidewalk along their frontage, which would again tie into that existing crosswalk and signals. And so with that, the signal operating properly, people push the button, are able to cross the street safely. There are currently bike lanes on both streets. The free right is only in Menlo Park, and so that's a Menlo Park real issue. The one consideration that is listed in here, and I'll translate it, that jug handle thing. Right now, for somebody to make a left turn on a bike on Middlefield, from Middlefield going north onto Ravenswood. So if you're going
Right.
north on Middlefield, and you want to turn left onto Ravenswood, your two choices are go into the left turn pocket on your bike and turn left with the cars.
Yeah.
Number two, stop at the light, hit the pedestrian push button, and walk your bike or wait and cross over. The suggestion, and it's, I believe, also in the Menlo Park plan, is to make revisions to the signal so that it's like a two-way left, call it a bike box to kind of help folks cross the intersection making a left turn. And
So
so
it's
that's
the
that
same way
kind of
that-
jug handle.
Is that like what
Comment.
we have at Marsh,
We don't,
where there's a bike in the middle of the two cars?
no, but that's for through. So it's not a through issue, it's a left turn issue.
Okay,
And so how do you make improvements for that bicyclist that's going northbound
so where
to make a left onto?
where does the
Ravenswood?
bike lane sit among the cars?
Right now, it's all the way on the
I know,
side.
I meant,
'cause
but
it's-
where in this?
It would stay on the side. And then Jerry can probably talk about that two-stage left turn or otherwise facilitating that left for the cyclist.
Yeah, I mean, you just go to the front into the box, you pass all the cars and go into the
Yeah.
box.
So we can get rid of
They
the
have
jug
bike
handle
boxes
thing and
all
just
over the
leave it at
place on
that.
Laurel and everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I said, we could just get rid of the jug handle comment and leave it at, Menlo Park should get rid of that channelized right turn.
Yeah.
And simplify it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that does it better, that does it better.
Good
Yeah,
comment.
That's a higher risk for bicyclists,
That free right, yes.
that free right,
yeah, oh,
because
yeah,
that's like a freeway exit.
Okay.
yeah, particularly when something on a bike is crossing there and somebody's looking around that corner, that, when they're going straight across.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not looking.
yeah, I don't know, they're looking the other way to make sure that.
They're protected now.
So we,
Okay, I'm sorry.
Now a protected right-hand turn. It used to be like you had to merge with traffic, and then they made it so that only that lane goes into only that right-hand turn goes into that lane.
Yeah, but if you're a bicyclist,
Right,
you're now,
it's worse now because they're not even
Yeah.
looking because
Right.
there's no cars to
Yeah.
look for.
It's also hard for the car to look that direction
Yeah.
as they're
Yeah.
coming.
And
On
half the
that
people
right,
are
you
going
can't-
straight across the left-hand lane to the
Right.
next street
Yeah.
anyway.
yeah.
Oh, and that,
Yeah.
yes.
Those are the ones, well, at least those are the ones that stop.
That's why,
Say-
that's why you see a lot of bicyclists will cut through Lindenwood and come up Oak Grove.
Right,
Because they don't want to deal with that intersection.
Right.
I avoid the intersection.
Yeah,
As much
going
as I
south on
can.
Middlefield through that is gotta be treacherous on a bike.
okay, so do we have consensus on this intersection?
Think I
reword
heard
that box so it's simplified.
Simplifying it, getting rid of the reference to the jug handle and indicating Menlo Park should remove the channelized right.
All right, good. Does that work, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. So on the others, I think it's providing a protected corner and trying to, I'm going to refer to Charlie to get clarity on these last ones because the bike lane stuff is covered under the bike improvements, and so I'm not quite sure. Charlie, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so the protected corner is essentially brings a level of separation with the bike between the bike lane and the travel lane as you approach the intersection. It keeps the bike lane physically separated from the car lane at the intersection, and then especially as the cars are turning, there's usually what's called a corner wedge, which is a physical mountable curb that essentially forces the car turning right to more clearly see the bicyclist and separate them. It really separates the turning movement at the corner. And I have some visible examples if I'm able to share, but That's the best way I can explain it.
So Charlie,
verbally.
let me try and interpret that a little differently. So right now, cars merge over to the right into the bike lane
Like they're
to
supposed
turn
to.
right.
Correct.
They're supposed to.
Okay, and so what you're suggesting is not allowing them to do that.
Correct.
And you could do that with a curb or some other obstruction, like a delineator.
Yeah.
Or some other obstruction, but there's gotta be some separation that protects the bike lane, right?
Yes.
But what,
And it's gonna be a lot cheaper to do delineators than to do a
Yeah,
curb.
no, that's certainly the case. The only consideration I'd have is that there's only one lane on Middlefield.
Yeah.
And so that right turning car is gonna,
Yeah, it's not the cars I would
Yeah.
think would be the issues, it's trucks, a garbage truck or a,
Yeah, this location was where the garbage truck turned and
right.
killed
Yeah.
the bicyclist.
Right.
Yeah.
and so if the truck can't move over there, then,
Then
the
that's-
person on the bike who was at that time on an electric bike going higher speed maybe doesn't notice that the truck is starting to turn.
Yeah.
And you have the same problem you have. I think this is
It
gonna-
slows down and widens the turn. So the truck would have to, they would have more of an opportunity to see anyone coming or crossing at that intersection, whether you're a pedestrian or a bicyclist. And that's what that separation does. It buys you a couple extra seconds,
But
and
where
there's
it's gonna make the bike-
proven safety benefits.
It's gonna make the bicyclist think that he's protected, and he's not.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Because
But he's saying
Yeah,
it's
the
a
big-
proven safety
the big
benefit.
risk on bicycling is right turns. Because people don't use their turn signals.
Exactly. And so
And-
this forces the cars turning right to slow down, and then that gives them a better chance to see people biking.
But slowing down doesn't make a difference, because if you're in,
Speed is everything in terms of safety.
well, speed is everything, but if the bicycle's doing 20 miles an hour, that's not controlled by this device.
It's
the car.
it's one tool in a toolbox that
Where does it
at
go
least
in the
from the
street?
car. This is from
so.
Okay, we understand what it is, okay?
Okay.
Where is it?
So they would go
My vote
right-
is not to have.
Right
You
in
guys,
there.
let's just let
You gotta
everyone
have
speak.
something.
Let's all take our turns here.
The key for me is where it goes in the street, and if it's out there by the white line,
Yes. Yeah.
then no, absolutely not. I would think that would
You
be,
mean the delineator?
yeah, the delineator right out there, would be, all it's gonna be is driven over by a big truck. I mean, I watch them all do happen all the time, and particularly on that particular turn.
There's a lot of
Can you show us
flexibility.
something?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of flexibility in terms of how it looks or the materials that you use. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a, delineator. It could be a still temporary and cheaper, low cost mountable curb that at least, it's a visual cue more than anything. And here, I'll show you a diagram if I can.
You have the same exact issue at the corner of Alameda and Woodside Road. Coming down Woodside Road and turning right onto Alameda, which exact same issue. And they put in delineators all the way down there, and it protects the cyclist. There's no question
But
about
the
it.
delineators end probably at least 100 feet before the intersection.
That, well before the intersection,
Yeah,
you're right.
and then if we're talking on Middlefield, they're probably not gonna end until we're right at the intersection.
Right.
No, the delineators,
So the suggestion is to bring forward either the delineators or some sort of, they have those plastic,
The little street
Little-
marker things.
No,
little curb things.
bollards.
No, they're called quick curb or something like that, where it's a mountable, it's probably about 3 feet long.
Like that.
Yeah,
something like that.
This is an
of
example
business.
in the town of Los Gatos where they had limited right of way. They used this mountable curb around the corner.
Yeah, when you hit that with your bike.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's,
You
that's,
hit
Well-
that with
I
your
would break
bike.
my arm.
If
doing
you
that.
go,
Close
if
the
you
car
go
down.
over, if you go
No, your
over a
bike lane
speed
is
bump with your
fur-
bike, you
further
can
to
slip
the
off.
right.
The bike can slip off. I personally, but you guys can put them wherever you want, but they're not going on Glenwood.
Well, you think you learned in Glenwood?
I don't-
huh?
And you know, the problem with that too is that, you know, people are gonna run over it in a
Right.
car and on a bicycle. If the
Right.
bicycle runs over
Yeah,
it,
you're gonna break
good
your arm.
chance he's gonna crash.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
So
They're
I
dangerous.
don't like them.
I don't either. And
But
then we're
the
the two
point
guys
today
that
is
ride
not
bikes.
that we're
You do too, but.
designing it, we're
No, but
identifying
like I say,
the
if you are completely
intersections.
opposed to the idea, then we don't want this. There's a
I'm
difference
completely
between.
opposed.
I am not. I think both of those serve a school. There's been a fatality at one of those in the last year. So
This wouldn't
why,
have helped the fatality. He was
but why
going,
would we not identify that intersection as one for studying for improvements is my question. Is
Well,
why
Because
I'm-
there's two houses that live on the street.
the basic
it's-
problem is people don't understand, and it is kind of a schooly rule, that if you're in the bicycle lane, you have the right of way. If someone makes a right turn, you have the right of way as the bicyclist.
Right.
You may be dead, but you have the right of way. And what people don't understand is when they make a right turn, they should move over, block the bike lane 50, 100 feet ahead of time and then turn. And that's actually in the
Safer.
vehicle code,
It's
Yeah.
very safe that way.
but nobody does it. I mean, I get all the time, I get people right next to me and I've had it where they honk their horn and make a right turn right into me.
Yeah.
Kind of like, we won't go into that, but, and, or they pull up right next to you or in front of you and stop and you go, oh, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
So,
So Sam was trying to talk.
Well, this intersection feels like a reactionary
Yeah.
suggestion. There's so many streets along there that it could have happened at, right? Unless it's because there was backed up school traffic
That's,
and then it,
that's what.
and
no.
then it wouldn't be the slowdown thing, like it wouldn't, the thing that is being suggested doesn't make sense because the traffic was stopped and then it accelerated over.
it
I
can
think
happen
this is
in
only
any
coming up
intersection.
because of the proximity to the school.
Right.
Well, no, because that's where the accident was.
No, I don't think this is coming up because that's where the accident was. The Encinal kids recommended putting delineators
Not on Friday.
So,
in. Yes,
I
Yeah, they did.
so,
All
All
down.
middle.
all the way
It
down.
said on Middlefield, but not
So-
specifically on Prior Lane, which is
So-
a street that
Yes.
has two houses.
So Robert's trying to bring us in a
I'm
little
gonna say, you've already recommended putting in delineators
bit.
on Middlefield where we have the buffers. And so the buffers are there where we have that little bit of extra space. And so putting in delineators linearly is, I'll call it already recommended.
And that would include this location.
It includes the stretch. The differentiation is that right now the buffers end, as Jerry said, as you approach the intersection. And you'll see is like what was shown in that image, the bike lane is green, designating the conflict zone and broken.
Yes.
It's broken
Yes.
with the intent of allowing cars to merge into that lane.
Right, the delineators are gone.
And the delineators would be gone as you hit
So
that.
I think that's sufficient as is, we don't need this other stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so the question that this is bringing up is, should there be a continuation of that separation as you approach the intersection?
No, with the
Uh,
delineators.
So,
This is one more thing that a driver doesn't understand.
Yeah, you know, and the bike, you know, can run into.
But,
So,
I
the good
feel
news
it's
is-
dangerous.
This is a living, breathing document.
Right.
And if we don't put it in now, it'll be reconsidered in the next rendition.
So I have one question then, if you go back to your picture there for a second. I still don't understand how the arch works on it in this one spot. I saw the picture we had that we were shown.
Oh, Charlie, can you show that picture again?
That picture makes sense because it's got a separate space for the bike lane. This doesn't have a separate space away from the bike lane unless you're adding.
We don't have an extra gap.
Right. But see,
It would
this
be
doesn't-
right up against
it does.
that first white line.
But it doesn't arch or does it arch like that?
No, it's gonna be along. Our situation is that it would be right along this line.
All right, so it doesn't arch in.
No, it's not an arch. This has more space like you would a buffer.
It'd be similar to the one near Councilmember Elizabeth's
But-
house that you talked about.
You know, I'll just say, and then I'll drop it. So we don't even have the segmented green section prior to the intersection there.
This is not ours.
This is not ours.
Well, and this one.
Yeah.
But my point is, so we have this physical buffer, but you know, the thing that people are used to is that segmented green thing. The bicyclists are used to it, kind of going, something's happening here. And the motorists are used to it. Now we introduce something that's totally different and is rarely seen. So as ignorant as our car drivers and bicyclists are, I don't think we need this.
I vote
I'm
not
not
to
in
have
favor of
that.
it, but I am in favor of making the green hash marks earlier.
Yeah.
So like coming up to Glenwood on Middlefield, I think you got 2 green boxes. Maybe there's 3, but there's not enough really, where you should have it further back.
And those are big boxes, we need to,
That's,
as you get closer to
that's
the
probably gonna go
intersection, to
for
the turning thing, you need to have them smaller.
Yeah.
I feel like we are getting into the design component, but we should
Okay.
be just identifying intersections that
okay.
are a priority. And to me, this is the backside of an elementary school that people ride their bikes to. So why wouldn't we be making sure that intersection is safe?
Yeah.
And whatever that design ends up being, feels like it should be on the list.
So the secondary part of that recommendation is to just carry those green boxes across the intersection, which we can have as a blanket for the entire.
Yeah, that's what they do in Palo Alto.
Yeah.
I would also, because we are focusing on schools, like Oak Grove, like there's the way people get to schools, there's, I'm wondering if other intersections should get the same like bike treatment that we're doing for these intersections on Middlefield that serve MA or that people are using to get to Laurel from Lindenwood or whatever for
Okay.
when we add the delineators.
All right, so I think we ran through,
So what are we doing on 26, 27?
so what I heard was don't put the curb, but extend the green boxes across the intersections.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Right, or page 18 of 59.
We only have some more.
Okay,
Okay, and now we have to talk about, I mean, I think what we decided with Prior Lane and Encinal, it's the same.
They
that's
would be all the same.
recommendation. So then Glenwood. Bill, do you have opinions on Glenwood?
No, he
Wait.
only owns it, so he has no.
So are we going with what is here on Ensign?
And I'm telling you, that stuff that they're talking about is dangerous. It's dangerous to the bikers.
So you're saying protect an intersection corner to create more separation between road users at the southwest corner is what is recommended on Glenwood and Middlefield. I don't know what that means.
What you're saying is you're gonna put the green hash marks, that's it.
For all 3 of those, 26, 27,
It's the same on all 3.
Is that
Right.
what's recommended by?
No, that's what we're recommending, and you made a note of it.
I'm really struggling with us diverging from what traffic experts are recommending for safety stuff on this stuff. Can you explain what is separation between all road users at the southwest corner?
all
This is just worded slightly differently than, but it's the same exact
It's the
concept
same
that I
thing?
shared. Yeah.
Okay,
It's just, yeah.
It's
okay.
putting more physical barriers between each individual user, road,
Right.
road, bike,
That's the problem.
Just different phrasing, same solution. Okay.
Okay.
All right, recommended program.
Recommended programs, so
These are all things that we already do.
we do most of them, which is great. PD just did their bike rodeo in, was it,
Last month we were on.
Saturday.
yeah, and they have another one coming up in September. And so it's really continuing all the education efforts that are being done. They've done the e-bike education, and I think that's continuing as well. And as we implement new things, we need to teach people about them, so that's that second bullet. Then doing more in terms of in continuing to do our coordination with the schools with regards to safe routes. So we participate in walk audits and have our conversations with the different schools, both at the resource officer level as well as our staff. And then PD does every month they list in their reports to the Transportation Bike and Ped Committee all the accidents that happened. And then this is just basically adding in there an annual summary and review of the accidents that
It's right now
occurred.
on the monthly.
So we can take a look at them. Additional enforcement on biking and parking. Sometimes it needs additional signage for that to keep cars from parking in the bike lane. And then just basically, again, this is a living document, just kind of looking at where we are every year. And then as we move forward to the next revision or rendition of the plan. So
I had a real quick comment on this. I went through and looked at all the links that you had in there. And there's one thing struck me is that in terms of the way that pages are used and getting people actually use it, the Mountain View site did a really good job of engagement, and they were light on data and information. So there's three aspects that I'm looking for when I go to the webpage to get people looking at it: the engagement, the data, and the information, just general information. We need to consider how we do the engagement thing. Like, for example, if on a bike rodeo we had more pictures of the kids at the rodeo, the kids would all say, "Hey, let's look at this page," and everybody would talk about it. And then the kids look at the page, and guess what? It has safety tips on it. So the idea is drawing people to it is just something we have to think about. There are only two sites that I've looked at that had anything close to that at City of Alameda and Mountain View. All the others had some form of a word wall, which doesn't get read. All right, so just for what it's worth.
Wow.
okay. Thank you. Now we get into the fun stuff. And this is conversations around new policies. And so that includes whether or not and to what degree we expect our developers to make improvements consistent with this plan. And so when we designate a pedestrian route on the street, should the developer, as part of their frontage improvements, design it and build it? What I get worried about is if we have this plan and we want to do this, and we allow somebody to build something in that zone, then we're having to rip it out at some point in the future. This way, if we require them to do it, it's done in a manner and fashion that meets their aesthetic or is otherwise integrated with their frontage improvements, so it's less impactful later on. And it's not like they're not spending the money fixing their front.
Yeah.
Right, so most of these properties are building walls, they're building nice landscape screening in front, and they're doing improvements and a little bit extra to make it passable and usable by our residents is, I think, beneficial to everybody. The second is kind of an enforcement item. This is state law daylighting, which basically restricts parking within 20 feet of intersection on the approach side. So not on both sides, but just as you approach the intersection, not parking. Really what it is in curbed areas, because you want to make sure that pedestrians are visible at the intersection. We don't have curbs in the majority of our town, so it's not like we're going to be painting every street edge to comply. And generally speaking, people aren't parking that close to the intersection here. The only areas that we might need to take a closer look at would be like in Moyden Park, and when developments occur around those multifamily areas and they put in those sidewalks to make sure that those areas are clear and useful.
Robert, I do think that we need to do the red painting to separate people from the fire hydrants, because I think that what I've seen is that people are very, very lax on parking close to the fire hydrants. I realize the new law on how close you can be to a curb or to an intersection is something that over time we're going to need to get people used to. But blocking a fire hydrant or being just a foot or two away, I think is a big problem, and I'm seeing a lot of it now.
Okay.
In Atherton?
Yes, in Atherton.
So what I would suggest, it's a great conversation to have, and we might want to defer that to another conversation as to whether we paint it or if it's just simply an enforcement thing, because I think state law and the vehicle code says that you're not allowed to park, I think, within 15 feet.
Yeah.
And so that might just be an enforcement issue, but we can talk about that separate.
Yeah.
Um,
The other thing that, Robert, is that when people have big parties and their guests just park everywhere, it doesn't matter, anywhere, by the
That's
fire.
not the issue.
No, but I mean, so on a regular basis, most of those walkways are free because they don't have huge amounts of cars parked there all the time.
Probably having a walkway would be good for all those parties, so that all those people parking on the street have a pathway they could get to the houses that they're
Then they
going to.
would.
People walk up the street.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's Atherton.
Parties are, it's good for people.
okay.
One of the things where I see consistently an issue with that setback on the corner is where there's construction and the construction trucks parked right on the corner. I've seen that right recently on Oak near me, where there's like three trucks in a row, and they're not small trucks either. They're big trucks. So that's something that may be an enforcement issue that we go with.
So do you have dedicated slides for us to talk about frontage improvements and daylighting?
I have a couple.
Okay.
But I'm just going to run through a couple of things. So as we have these new things, we need to, as a town, kind of develop standard plans or standard outlines on what we would like things to look like. One of these is related to walkways, right? We're saying we'd like walkways. And so we've been doing a little bit of digging about finding kind of things that may fit our semi-rural nature and kind of what options people might have as they do these. And as we look at doing, for example, the walkway on Middlefield, which is a project that we are doing. So I have a couple of samples of a product. This is not definitive in terms of what we would ultimately be doing, but it's basically taking gravel and having it bound and glued together. It's permeable, pervious, so water will go right through it. And it is firm and stable, ADA accessible, and doesn't require too much on the maintenance side.
Are you
What's the
looking
weight
at
limit on that?
stepping
What's that?
stones
What's
or
the weight
complete
limit on that?
walkways?
You can park
What can you
So-
park
them.
Walkway.
Depending on, I'm gonna say, we
on?
haven't designed it.
Let me just jump ahead. What happens when the thing that parks on it is too heavy for what
It'll
it can
crack.
withstand, and it cracks, and then it continues to crack, and then we just end up with pebbles and just gravel in that area, right, ultimately. Which maybe fun.
Maybe.
We build it, we own it, we got the.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say on Middlefield, we're not expecting people to park on it.
We're expecting
Yeah, 'cause
people to
it's
ride their
behind
bikes on it
trees.
or walk.
Another option is what we have
Outside.
in these pictures, which is basically kind of like that, but with a plastic stabilization grid
Underneath it.
in it, so it kind of locks things into place a little better. So that we need to develop because we don't have a standard plan for sidewalks, and particularly as those areas that will be required to put them in. Driveway standards, what driveway approaches look like, particularly to make sure that there's an accessible path behind the ramp.
This stuff outside here won't work.
One more time? It worked. And I think, as I understand the way that the town operates and would like to operate, is requiring that walkway to be built, but allowing the person that's building it to build it to their aesthetic. And so we can say, this is an option, this is our standard. If you want to use another permeable pervious surface, have at it, like permeable pavers or the stabilized, what do you call it?
DG.
Gravel.
No,
DG is not
No, DG is-
permeable, and the hardest problem,
DG is not permeable.
They put the glue. they
no,
put
because
on-
it's glued together and it's,
Yeah, I know
if
that.
done right, it's supposed to stay firm. And the problem with DG that we know that we happen when it rains, it turns into mush.
Puddles.
And so it's not, without regular maintenance, it's not the best ADA surface.
I'm finding that out because you just put it in and I went, yeah, okay.
So
What else?
So if.
if they want to put it, I mean, that's the thing, is that we will work with folks, like I think, on Atherton Avenue, I think people are familiar with I think it's 202 at Selby in Atherton. They put in permeable pavers around the front for the first 4 feet.
Like interlocking pavers that.
It's not exactly interlocking, but it's permeable. It's got the gaps in it for,
It's stone.
The
They're
cobblestones?
actually
Yeah.
stone.
it's kind of like,
Very
it's
Yeah.
not as rounded, but it's cobblestone pavers, I think.
Okay,
And so we can give options to the developers, but the idea is really to have them do it and have at least a basic standard for these things.
Yeah, I put one of those in the pad in front of my mailbox, my mail truck brought over and cracked it first time.
Okay,
okay.
so
That's a question.
this is where we get into the conversations about our current standards and how we want to change them. And so right now, we do not have a clear zone requirement along the edge of the road. What we do, we allow people to vegetate, put in landscaping up to the edge of the road.
And this is for the whole town or places with.
This is the
identified-
entire
Okay.
town. Right now, our standard says if you want to plant to the edge of the road, you can, as long as it's less than 5 feet high for the first 3 feet.
5 inches.
5 inches.
5 inches, sorry. The next 3 feet is up to 3 feet high.
Right.
And this is really related to visibility,
Mm.
right? Making sure that people can see. We have a 6-foot separation requirement from the edge of the road to trees, boulders, logs, and other physical obstructions. The real questions, and we have a 6-foot separation for mailboxes and postal boxes, et cetera. The post office wants to be able to drive up to those things. Okay, which means that they're not, the owner wants to put it as close to the road as possible so that the post office person can get to it. We want it further away so it's safer and provides clear zones, and if somebody has to veer off to the side, they're not running into a big parcel box, because used to be the little mailbox on the wood post. Not anymore. Everybody's building it out of cinder block or metal or other things, and so they're more immovable objects as opposed to something that'll break away. So the questions really are, should we increase that clear zone and require it to be not vegetated? That first 4 feet or 5 feet be clear for everybody, and then when it gets to that area where the mailbox is, et cetera, that it's 6 foot of, for lack of a better way to put it, a drivable surface that the mailman can get to. And so this is really a conversation that we're asking you to have, because as we develop these standards, we want to be able to make sure that we're not looking at plans coming in and allowing people to just build up to the edge of the road.
This would apply to new stuff, not.
This is going
Well,
forward.
this is where I was gonna say, this, what you're talking about, Robert, though, is the detail of changing the ordinance. What we're talking about in the master plan that we're looking at developing is, should we be amending these standards, correct? Because the master plan is not gonna have the detail of the ordinance written into it.
No, it's not going to, but I think we need
We need direction.
We need direction.
Should we be investigating, improving these standards to create a clear zone within the frontages of properties? This is different than that property owner who is doing a total remodel of their house should build that public walkway if they are in an area where the town wants a sidewalk or a pedestrian way, or maybe they should pay for it, something like that. Those are two different things, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, so that didn't answer my other question though, so for a house that's not on a pedestrian pathway location, this new frontage standard would apply to them. So would that mean, if we had a new frontage standard for the whole town and we changed it tomorrow,
Yeah.
most of the town would have illegal frontages, how does that work?
Then, just like it kind of works today, because we changed these standards probably right before I got here. And we had, Bill Widmer and Councilmember Lempres at the time doing neighborhood walkarounds, trying to educate people about rocks, stones, things like that in the right of way. And when the town changed the ordinance, there were a lot of homes in town that were grandfathered that had these things out in their frontage. We gave them an amortization period, 20 years, you need to move it back.
Okay.
Some of the
So
longer-term council.
we'll call it a two-step process. When somebody comes in and wants to do something, we would make them meet that
Right,
new
that makes
standard.
sense.
And as George was saying, is some sort of grandfather period or a transition period for those that are existing. I'll use the example of Lindenwood, where everybody has not just low vegetation, but big shrubs that go right up to the edge of the road. And so we're not going to knock on their door and say, hey, we just enacted this ordinance, remove it tomorrow. It's going to be, hey, the town is enacting this ordinance, and over the next 5, 7, 10, whatever number the council chooses, you will be expected to remove that vegetation.
And all you want is the 6 feet. Is that?
Well, what I'm gonna
That's
say,
what we'll figure
so
out.
that's something to be figured out.
Because
And-
you have to have your mailbox within 6 feet, according to the
Yeah.
mail. So you can't go further than 6 feet, else you're gonna have to have a carve out. You're gonna
Yeah.
have the mailbox out there and you're gonna say, well, I want you back 8 feet. So then, if you're not paying attention, you're driving into mailboxes. So
So what exactly are you asking for feedback from us on? Because are you asking us whether or not you want to have this in a subsequent meeting for us to discuss? Because we're not getting in the weeds on
Okay,
this.
so,
Right, how far can we take it today?
well, since it's almost 6,
6?
what I say is that, do you want us to start developing some of these things and bringing it back for discussion by the council?
And then,
And that would be separate from, the master plan would say that the town should look at these things and stop for the plan.
Yeah.
Staff on the side would start working on developing some of these things for conversation with the council.
I I would prefer that we have more discussion as a council before we have staff just come give us something and say, oh, okay, that's fine. I think we should have our discussion of what we think as opposed to have staff come tell us what they think. And then this is, you know, a yes or a no type of thing.
On the committee.
I don't know about a committee, but.
Well, I mean, existing transportation
Yeah.
planning commissioner.
No, I think, you know, staff can come with some ideas like you have already, but I think we need to have, you know, another hour or two, not today. We're winning 1-0.
So the question is
Then
though,
Rick
the
had-
master plan
Rick had
versus
something that
those
was,
details.
yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Okay, I think that there are several issues in programs and policies that require discussion before we start going down any path of having staff develop. And I think those include this issue of this daylight area that could be 4 feet or could be 6 feet. That's a big decision. It would change the character of the town.
So daylighting is different.
Wait,
Sorry, we use daylighting as an
Can
example.
we finish?
Okay,
Finish,
sorry.
please?
Apology.
Keep going.
okay, so I also think that the issue of what we are going to do where we have a walkway, like on Atherton Avenue between Inglewood and Alameda, how properties adjust to that or deal with that is a discussion we have to have. We haven't had it. It just got raised. And we ran into that with 170 Atherton Avenue, and we need to have that discussion. The proposal also recommends considering adopting an ordinance to collect developer fees toward transportation improvements. We need to talk about that.
Well,
And so there's several things in the policies and programs that I think is an aggregate of more than an hour discussion. And we should schedule that for another meeting.
Right.
So my comment, and he hit on a lot of what I was thinking about, is what is our objective in looking at this? What is our vision for improving Atherton? You know, the Atherton look. I know that there are, there's landscaping that is going right up to the edge of some of these small streets. And it's a nuisance. I mean, but over time, that's what's happened. And it's, you know, so what is our objective in doing this? What is our vision for Atherton and how we want to see the look and feel of our town as it is on the roads? So, and then all those other comments that we need to consider.
So if the direction,
And I'm in agreement that we don't want to just throw it back onto the shoulders of, you know, Robert and his team to come up with something and present it to us. I think we need to identify our objectives and our policies, you know, beforehand. We need to study.
that was exactly my
George.
question, because I'm not exactly, I mean, when staff brings us back, we can just come to the table and say, let's have a conversation. Or staff can come back and say, here's some options we can look at, here's some alternatives, we've done some research. These are some communities that do it this way, let's talk about it.
I
We
would
can do
prefer
that.
the latter personally, because
Help
I
guide the
don't know that
conversation.
any other towns do, so having some references to guide us seems.
Well, the question is, what do we want?
Yeah,
Not
I'm
what
not
other
sure
towns
other
have. I don't
towns
care what they
factor in.
have.
I wouldn't even know what the options are, I guess is what
I think the options are whatever we want, you know?
Well, but the other thing I'm thinking about is situations in the town, like there's a whole couple of blocks I can think of that have a ditch right next to the road that is their drainage system in front of their house, and that's the way they solve it. And so, okay, so I guess the mail truck can go down that ditch and back up, but I'm just thinking of all the different locations, I mean, all the different things we have to address about the 4-foot back and what would that mean for a developer fee?
And you're
It's
not
really
going,
not a
you're not gonna address
one-size-fits-all.
all of that in a single ordinance.
Yeah.
Because there's gonna be exceptions like that that occur, and I'm not.
Guys, let's let George talk.
I'm not entirely sure that just having a free-flowing conversation around it is
Yeah.
gonna actually come up with a solution. I think as a counselor, you're gonna need some guidance
Okay.
in that
Let's try to
conversation.
talk.
You trying to herd cats here?
Yeah, and there's gonna be also a difference between what you put in the master plan, which again is just that high level, yes, we want street frontage improvements, and yes, we want frontage requirements and what those look like. Staff is gonna develop those and bring those back to you. That's the detail, that's the ordinance. That's where you actually have all the conversation around what you wanna see, what you don't wanna see, versus the master plan that says, we think these things are important. That's an easier conversation, that's the more
That's
vision.
the high
conversation.
level that I'm talking
Right,
about.
we can bring it back and have that, but
Yeah,
if you're gonna get into the weeds
Yeah.
of what it looks like, that's an entirely different conversation.
George, not every lane and avenue and street.
They're not
can
gonna-
have- They're
not gonna
not
match.
all created
No,
equal.
they're not.
Like, what,
Yeah.
what's your name again?
Let me check my name tag. Oh, yeah.
It's
Totally
not-
different.
I'll leave it out.
Very long.
I'll leave it out for you.
Okay, thank you. No, but it's true, because
Yeah, and the
we're
ordinance is
so
gonna be a one
varied.
size fits all.
And it's not one size fits all. So there's a lot of nuance here.
So we
And-
should put this on a future agenda.
And Atherton kind of grew up organically, really, with a lot of
But
freedom.
we're not putting the weeds conversation on the agenda,
Yeah.
right? We're putting the high vision of what you want to see out in the community, not the specifics of how we get there.
Well, there also could be some things
I
specific
mean,
to what
there's safety,
laws, you know.
there's, you know.
The specifics of how we get there are in terms of the bike issues, the pedestrian issues and the intersections are gonna come back.
Yeah.
We've just made general recommendations
Correct.
that nothing's
No,
locked
the
in
plan's
stone
gonna come
until
back.
we see the specifics.
That's what
But you're not gonna see the ordinance at the same time you adopt the master plan.
No, I understand that,
Right.
but these issues are big policy issues. We have to, we have to discuss this. I don't know that we have to discuss this before you come back with those specifics on, you know, the bike, pedestrian
The
and
roads.
intersection issues.
the main arterials.
But we're
Stop
clearly
signs.
gonna have to address this before we finish the master plan.
Well, again, I think there's a difference between you want 3 inches of vegetation, up to 6 inches of vegetation in the first 3 feet. From the next 3 feet, you want this or that. That's an ordinance. That's much more
Right,
detailed.
right.
That's not really what we're gonna be doing as part of the master plan. The master plan is gonna say, staff, we think this is an important issue for you to do. Bring that back to us.
I see the master plan saying we want pedestrian ways on these streets.
Yes.
But we have to figure out what that's gonna look like and how it's gonna get done.
And that's the
Yeah.
ordinance.
Those are the
that's
ordinances,
coming
those are the
later.
requirements for
Right,
developers,
right,
those come
yeah.
later.
So-
Yeah.
But wait, but we're gonna get detail on, for example, walkways. There's gonna be a recommendation on where the walkway goes on Atherton Avenue. The master plan's not gonna be just what we've done, which is
The
we
master
want a
plan,
walkway on one side of Atherton Avenue. We don't know which side.
that's correct. That's what the master plan. The design, when you
So-
spend hundreds of thousands of dollars with an architect and a designer, that's later. You got a
But
traffic engineer, you got,
So are you saying that anyone who does any development on either side of Atherton Avenue are gonna have to build some kind of an impervious walkway?
no,
'Cause that's
no,
not
I'm saying if the council's made Atherton Avenue a priority, we'll figure out how to tie those two things together. And if they're on Atherton Avenue, 170 is on one side, and 180 is on the other side or whatever, we'll have to figure that out when they come forward, whether yes, you need to do just the, as you call it, the daylighting in the first 6 feet, but you don't need to put in a pedestrian walkway, or you are designated because we've moved Atherton Avenue as a priority, we're moving that project forward, it's in our CIP. Yes, this is the side of the road, we've had it designed, that's our next step.
Okay, well, then we have to decide.
But you gotta do the
who's gonna pay
design
for it.
in order to actually trigger those improvements in the frontage.
Wait, but
So, okay, so it's 6:05.
Yes.
Should
Yes.
we,
Supposed to be done by.
do we need to have another meeting about this is what or do we, it
Yeah,
seems like
yeah.
there's a lot of discussion
There
needed
is.
for a part 3
Mhm.
for all of.
This is such a good sequel, we want to know.
Look, guys, I run an efficient meeting, but this is like, we should be going into the weeds on all this stuff, this really matters, so I
But you
think
know,
it makes sense.
there's no time limit, we can go later. I mean, we've had lots of meetings
There's
for
a
5
park-
hours.
There's a
I'm
park and rec
wondering
There's a
meeting
park and
coming
rec
up.
There,
at
we get
6:30.
booted
Not
from this
today.
room today.
Not today.
The room has another meeting,
Oh, I guess that is.
so we have to do it for
Well,
So-
yeah, you can go for 10 hours next month,
Yeah,
because Park and Rec isn't after the rescheduled.
And I'm out of town, so that works.
That's right, we're shut down. We're dark that time, so there's no meetings.
But I think this issue of what, I mean, we've identified walkways, for example, around Sacred Heart. You know which side of the street those are on.
Exactly.
And I think that's pretty true where we've designed, we've said there's gonna be a walkway where there's multifamily.
Mhm.
Maybe Atherton Avenue is the only one, we don't know what we're talking
I
about.
think you're correct.
If that's true, we've gotta get specifics. We should not include in this master plan, we're gonna have a walkway on Atherton Avenue and not know which side it's on. That is absolutely,
So the way you solve that is you adopt the master plan, you want a walkway on Atherton Avenue, then you direct staff as part of the CIP, prepare designs for that walkway. Then we
but I don't
have,
know if we wanna walk, I mean, I think we have to know where the walkway is gonna be before we say we want a walkway.
that's what I'm saying, prepare the designs for the walkway. Then you'll know where it's gonna be, and then Robert and building can tag the property owners as those improvements go, consistent with our adopted design.
But we don't need to make that ordinance for the entire city, do we?
The frontage requirement ordinance for the clear space,
that would be.
that's the entire town.
That
That's
would
being
be-
proposed for the entire town.
But I
But
guess,
the-
you know, how's it working
But
so
these
far
are two
with
totally
the,
separate issues.
Right.
I have to say, you know, with the, 5 inches up to the curb and stuff, how's that working so far? I mean, that doesn't work, because there is vegetation that goes all the way to the edge of the road, and it was built under those rules,
Some
And
was
it's-
and some was.
and it's, huh?
Some was out there for
No,
100
I'm
years.
talking, no, and it's big. And so we can't control that metric, I'm saying, 5 inches up to the curb for that first 2 feet, 4 feet. Because it doesn't work.
Hard to enforce.
It's hard to enforce, yeah.
Yeah, we need to have another meeting.
This is such a fun party, let's do it again.
I agree.
So,
I'm
I think it sounds like there needs to be another special meeting about this,
Yeah, I think that's right.
so.
Yeah, we can make that happen probably, when do you leave? The 1st of August? So before the end of July, I won't be here, I'll be after the council meeting, unless it's done before 15.
I guess we'll find out over
Yeah.
email, figure out everyone's availability,
Pick a
including
meeting.
yours. Feels like you should be here for this. Feels like this could be a complicated, spicy conversation that we should have everyone present for,
Okay.
so.
We'll work that out.
Okay,
Okay.
so is there anything else you need us to answer today that we can't continue to our next third part of this?
Those are the 3 primary items that the vice mayor identified.
Okay, all right. Let's
Move to
adjourn this
adjourn.
meeting.
Thanks, Mona.
Thanks,
Second.
good night.